What's holding most of you back is your mindset. It's how you view yourself. It's how you think about yourself. It's what you say, both verbally and self-talk, that is ultimately limiting or holding you back from achieving your full potential. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, 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 my friends. I hope you know what time it is. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. Woohoo! Hope you are doing awesome. Hope you are ready for another amazing episode of being a world class. World class. That's all we do around here. We don't do average. We don't do good enough. We do world class Chief Information Security Officers. So what I want to do is sort of go back to what I call the basics or fundamentals. One of my rules with my podcasts, with my coaching, with my clients, with anybody I work with is a simple rule. There's something you want when you come to me. If you're listening to this podcast, there's something you want. There's something you want to learn. There's something you want to hear, there's something you want to find out, and hopefully if you keep listening, you're getting what you want. And similar, if you're coming to me for coaching, it's usually because you want to either get promoted, you want to be more effective at being a Chief Information Security Officer, you want to be able to present better to the board. There's something that you ultimately want. And I give that to you. And hopefully you feel I provided that over the hundreds of episodes that I've done with this podcast. However, there's another fundamental principle. The reason why lots of people come to me and listen to my podcast is because there's also something you need that you're not aware of. So what I always say is, I'll give you what you want so you're happy, but I'm also going to provide you what you need so you can be effective and accomplish your goals and mission and purpose. Because the reality is often what you want isn't what you need. And often what you want is not going to get you where you need to be. And where I'm going with this is what most of you want from my podcast called Life of a CISO is you want to learn how to be a CISO. What a shocker here, right? You want to learn what information security is, what it means to strategically present to the board. You want to understand the strategic side, those middle letters of information security. However, what you really ultimately need is some advice and mindset. What's holding you back is not the strategy. What's holding you back is not that you don't know how to be an information security officer. Almost all of you have some background in cyber, some background in technology, some understanding of what risk is, threats, vulnerabilities, and things like that. So if I threw you in a boardroom, you could probably be okay. You might not know as much as you wanted on the cybersecurity strategy side, but the reality is you probably know more than most of the folks in the boardroom because they're not cyber experts, and you could probably do okay. So that's not really what's holding you back. It might be what you think is holding you back, but it's not. What's holding most of you back is your mindset. It's how you view yourself. It's how you think about yourself. It's what you say, both verbally and self-talk, that is ultimately limiting or holding you back from achieving your full potential. And it's interesting because if you go back to the early 50 episodes of Life of a CISO, I spent a lot more time on the mindset piece. And I focused a lot more on that because I knew that's what people really, really needed. But then over the last 6 to 9, 12 months, I got a lot of criticism going, Eric, this is not a mindset podcast. It's a CISO, right? People are coming because they want to learn about CISO, 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 CISO. So if you notice, I spent the last 25, 30 episodes really going deep into the CISO piece, really breaking down the qualities of a CISO, how to present to a board, risk, assessing risk, what is the problems you're solving, and really going deep on that and sort of put the mindset on ice for a little bit to really do a deep dive into the CISO side. However, based on conversations I've been having and people I've been talking to, I felt like we needed a mindset episode, right? We needed to go a little bit on the mindset side, dig a little bit deeper, peel that back, because I'm starting to realize because I haven't covered that in this podcast for the last 25, 30 episodes, that's an area that people have forgotten about and they're lacking in a little bit. So that's why I'm sort of going back and just diving headfirst into what you need, which is mindset. So let's hit it from a couple of different angles. First and foremost, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe you are a CISO, no one else will. And this is not just saying the words, it's a conviction. It's a desire. It's a firm belief that you truly, ultimately believe that you are a CISO and that companies should hire you to be their CISO. And I can almost guarantee, if you've been wanting to be a CISO, you've been interviewing for a CISO, and you haven't got a CISO offer or a CISO job in over 12 months, guarantee. Now, there's no guarantees in life, so it's not a full guarantee, right? It's not a money-back guarantee. Right? It's just a Eric loosey-goosey guarantee, but I can almost guarantee that it has nothing to do with your CV. It has nothing to do with your interviewing skills. It has everything, everything to do with your mindset. It's how you are showing up. When I meet with people or I get hired to be a coach and somebody has been looking for a CISO job for 12, 18, 24 months, and they're like, Eric, no one's hiring me, I just can't get a CISO job. I can almost predict within the first 5 minutes of conversation, I'm going to hear the problem. And it sometimes comes out, it usually comes out in the first 20 or 30 seconds. But I say, okay, talk to me. Just talk to me about where you're at, your thought process, what you're doing in terms of trying to get a job. And it almost comes out, like I said, right away going, Eric, I really want to be a CISO. I think I can make a great CISO. I thought I had all the experience and the background, but I really just don't know if I'm CISO material. I just really don't know if companies will hire me to be a CISO. Maybe I'm really just a security engineer and I'm fooling myself thinking I could be a CISO because I'm really just doubting. I thought it'd be cool, but I'm just sort of really doubting whether I'm capable or companies will really hire me to be a CISO. Now, I threw a lot of them in there. Usually it's one or two, but I packed them all together. But if you just dissect any of those statements down, do you see where the problem is? Do you see what the issue is? They are clearly doubting themselves. They are clearly saying, I am not CISO material. No one is going to hire me. Now, let me ask you a question. If you're showing up to an interview and you're playing in your head, I'm not CISO material, I'm not CISO material, I'm not CISO material, how well do you think you're going to come across during that interview? Or if you're showing up to that interview saying, they're not going to hire me, there's so many better candidates, I am not qualified in any way, shape, or form, once again, you're not going to come across very well. Right? You're giving off negative energy and they can sense it. And I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to be able to talk to hiring managers for these folks. So I have data, right, where I go in and I see somebody where they tell me, I am not CISO material. I don't think they're going to hire me. They do their interview, and then I actually am able to talk to the person who did the interview, the hiring manager. And you know what they say every single time? They go, Eric, it's this weirdest thing that their CV looks good. I really thought this was going to be a viable candidate, but there was just something about them that just turned me off. There was just something about how they showed up or how they presented that I just wasn't impressed. And within 5 minutes, I'm sitting there thinking, this is not the right candidate. So I had to finish the interview to try to be polite, but there's just something about the conversation that did not go the way I thought it would go, and they're just not giving off the vibes that I thought they would give off. So I know many people that are new to mindset, when you talk about energy and what you're giving off and the vibes and all that, they think you're nuts, but I can tell you, time and time again, over and over and over, it's real. Every time you have a candidate that's showing up thinking they're not CISO material or not confident in themselves or their ability, and I have the opportunity, and this has been many, many times, to talk to the hiring manager, they always say that same thing. There was something about them, some energy, some vibe, whatever you want to call it, that they gave off that I just didn't feel like they were right for the position. So this stuff is real. It's real, real, real. So first and foremost, you have to convince yourself that you're CISO material. You have to convince yourself that you are the right person for the job. Now, there's different tips and tricks you can do for doing this, but ultimately what it comes down to is gathering data or information to back up your side of the story to basically prove the current limiting belief that you have is false and your new empowering truth is real. So first thing is, become aware that you have a limiting belief. Because if you don't recognize and you're not aware of the problem, you won't be able to fix it. If you are not aware that you are saying, I am not CISO material, you're not going to be able to fix it. So first one is listen, pay attention, and trust me. If you've been trying to get a job as a CISO for over a year and you haven't got any offers and it's not working, start paying attention, because there's no guarantees, but I can almost guarantee that there is a limiting belief there. You need to find it, you need to address it, and then we can start handling it. But I'm always shocked. I'm always shocked and amazed when I talk to these people and they're like, Eric, I just don't think I'm CISO material. I just don't think anyone's going to hire me. Later on in the conversation, I'll go, when did you first start believing that you're not CISO material? When did you start convincing yourself that no one's going to hire you? And they'll often look at me like, Eric, what are you talking about? I'm like, you just told me you're not CISO material. They're like, no, I didn't. And now I'll actually, with their permission, record conversations, because people don't even realize what they're saying. It's so ingrained and programmed in them that they don't even realize the negative self-talk. And I play it back to them and they're like, whoa, I didn't even realize how much I talked down about myself. I didn't realize how negative I was. So I know it sounds crazy, but awareness is key. Then once you have the awareness, once you fully recognize and own your negative self-talk and how detrimental you've been to your success, then that's actually the easy part. That's the hard part. The easy part is prove that you are. Prove that you are CISO material. Here's one of the simple exercises I love doing. You don't need me to do it. You can do it yourself. But the simple exercise is this. So I had somebody go in and tell me, Eric, I'm not CISO material. I just don't think I'm CISO material. Great. So we happened to be sitting down. This was in-person coaching. So I took out a piece of paper. I took out a pen. And I wrote at the top, CISO material. Underlined it. I said, great. Tell me, what is CISO material? Give me the qualities of somebody who's a CISO. And they're like, Eric, I don't know. I'm like, wait. You said you are not CISO material, which means you must clearly have a picture of what CISO material is. Otherwise, how could you say you're not? So if you are convinced that you are not something, then tell me what that is. At some level, you must know what it is. Otherwise, how could you say that statement? And you sort of pull it out of them and they start saying, okay. So I start writing things down. And we come up, I usually ask for about 25, 30 is fine, items. You want more than 5, you don't want more than 50. You want somewhere in that 25, 30 range. It's a good list. So I said, okay. We have 31 items on our list. Now, are you saying that somebody has to have 31 of these to be a CISO material? Like if I only have 29, am I not CISO material? Isn't there like a subset if you only have maybe 20 or 25 of these, you're still good? So they said, okay, if you have 20 of the 31, you're CISO material. Great. So if we have 20 or more, then you're CISO material. If you're under 20, you're not. Perfect. So then we take a yellow highlighter and I start going through it with them. And I can take the first item. Do you have that? Wait, you don't have that? I thought you worked at this company and you did this. Oh yeah, I do have that. Okay. And we start highlighting. Most of the time, when we get done with this exercise, this particular case, they had 24 of the 31 items highlighted. So I said, you told me 20 or more is CISO material and you have 24. Sure looks like you got CISO material. Sure looks like you fit your definition. And then I love it because you sit there and it's about 30 seconds, but it seems like 5 minutes where you just wait for them to have the aha moment. Right? Oh, yeah, I did. And all of a sudden, you can feel the energy shift. All of a sudden, they've woken up. All of a sudden, they've seen the truth. All of a sudden, they own and recognize that, yes, they were living a lie. They actually are CISO material. And I kid you not, that exercise, if done correctly, and they truly engage and truly believe, I have seen miraculous shifts. I have seen after that exercise, they reapply. Now, trick. After that exercise, I do have you do something, which is rewrite your CV. And here's why. Your old CV was written by somebody who didn't believe in you. It was written by somebody who was convinced you weren't CISO material. That's not a good CV. I now have a new person sitting in front of me. I now have a new person that believes in you. I have a new person that believes what you are capable of, and they believe you're CISO material. Guess what? I want that person. I want that person writing your CV, not the old person. So I do ask you to rewrite your CV from a different time, a different place, a different position. And then we start putting it out, and I will tell you, it's crazy. All of a sudden, they're getting job offers. All of a sudden, they're getting into bidding wars. All of a sudden, everything shifted because of that mindset, because they had to convince themselves. Now, caveat, because I want to make sure I'm covering all of you. There are some people I do this exercise with, and we do the yellow highlighting, and they only have 17. They only have 17 of the 20. So, Eric, that means we were right. I'm not systematic. No. This is the coolest part. If you're one of those where it's 17 out of 20 and it's correct, like you weren't selling yourself short, you really only have 17. I then go, okay, this is good news. Good news, because now I want you to look at the ones that aren't highlighted. So I want you to look at the 14 that aren't highlighted and tell me, because we need 3. We got to get to 20. Actually, let's get to 21. Let's pick 4 just so we can overdo it a little bit. So I said, out of these 14, which 4 get you excited? Which 4 do you think you can learn in a couple weeks or a month? Which 4 do you think you can build the skill set pretty quick and pretty fast? And then we go in and I highlight in pink 4 items that you pick. And I now basically say, okay, we have a 60-day roadmap. And we lay out over the next 60 days what you're going to do, what you're going to read, who you're going to get mentored, what classes you're going to go to, what skills you're going to learn, whatever is required. We lay out the full plan of how you can get those 4 skills in the next 60 days. Then we execute it, and guess what? Now in 60 days, you're system material. Now you have 21 out of the 31 and you only need 20, and boom, you're in the same position. So either way, doing this exercise is a win, because you're either going to prove to yourself that you are truly CISO material, or you're going to identify the gaps of what skills you need to learn, and you're going to learn those skills and be able to apply those skills to be able to enhance and push your career. Now, most people wait until they realize there's a problem to do this. Like I said, most people come to me, or most people will listen to this after they've tried for a year and a half. I've had some 3 years. But my biggest success case was somebody who had the most beautiful CV on the planet, the most skill set, born to be a CISO, and for 3.5 years was not able to get a CISO job because every interview they showed up to was, no one's going to hire me, I'm not CISO material, I'm not good enough. And they basically were their own worst enemy. They treated themselves worse than any enemy would ever treat them, which is terrible, but many of us do that. I've gone through that in a phase of my life too. It's an unfortunate reality of super geeks, right? Remember, with super geeks, we tend to get paid lots of money for finding vulnerabilities. We tend to get paid lots of money for finding weaknesses in systems. So we are very good at finding fault. We are very good at finding problems and vulnerabilities and issues, which makes us very, very good at our profession. However, what is an asset in our profession becomes a liability in our everyday lives, because now, if we don't recognize and do a frame shift, we now show up into our lives and we look for vulnerabilities. We look for weaknesses, and we're so critical of ourselves that we actually inhibit our success and stop our overall growth. So most folks wait until they identify a major problem to fix it. But I encourage you, be aware now. Maybe you're just getting ready to become a CISO, or you want to be a CISO in 6 months. Start looking at your self-talk. Are you one of those folks that say, I'm not CISO material? Do you doubt yourself? Do you doubt your capability? Do you doubt what you think you can do? And if you do, it's quite normal. Most people do. Be aware, and then do these exercises that I've covered, where you start identifying what you need, what strengths you want, and put together a plan, because you might as well be proactive in addressing and fixing these issues and not wait until the very end. One last thing. I actually have a second podcast. We're now up to episode 23, and that's called Bulletproof Cyber. And that one is specifically about what it means to be a cybersecurity professional, the challenges we face, and what you need to do to make your life bulletproof. That one is focused a lot more on the mindset issues, the challenges, and a lot of the things we covered. I just did our recent episode on framing, on how you can frame and look at issues and problems. So Life of a CISO is really good on more of how to become a chief information security officer with a little mindset. But you need to recognize that you being a cybersecurity professional and uber geek, you have unique challenges that other people don't have. And I just named one of them, that your asset in your job of finding vulnerabilities becomes a liability in your life. So I've started doing a podcast on how to be bulletproof. And it's sort of taken from one of my favorite lines in the movie The Matrix, where Neo goes to Morpheus and says, "So you're saying I can dodge bullets?" And Morpheus looks at him and says, "No, I'm saying when you're ready, you won't need to." And that's the idea, is you shouldn't be getting shot at in the first place. So if you want to learn a lot more about this mindset, I want to do an episode just for CISOs today. But if you want to learn a lot more about mindset, make sure you check out my other podcast, Bulletproof Cyber by Eric Cole. Otherwise, become aware, listen to your self-talk, recognize that it's quite normal to doubt yourself. It's quite normal to think you're not CISO material. But the trick is fix it, address it, so you can tap into your greatness and become a world-class CISO.